Hi, today I'm joined by T.Rose Malone from Write Your Plan. She and I grew up across the street from each other, so we've known each other pretty much our entire lives, and we're going to discuss entrepreneurship, the recent rise in entrepreneurs, how a business plan can enhance your business. And we may get a little off topic, but I hope you enjoy the conversation. If you're new to the channel, I'm Sherry from SherryLouMiller.com. And here on my channel, I discuss the micro principles, mindset, intention, choices, action, and habits, all as a way to increase the flexibility in your budget. And by that, I mean increasing the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Earning more than you spend and spending intentionally. Now let's get started with the interview.
Hey there. How are you?
Sounds good.
How well do I follow instructions? I'm just so good at that. So, hey, Sherry, my longtime Team Electric neighbor. Even though we're many, many miles apart from each other now,
Yes.
we grew up right across the street from each other, which is so neat. I really love the fact that we came from that era. That I'm a part of the group of people who actually knew our neighbors, cared about everybody, knew everybody on the block, and
In the neighborhood.
yeah, in the neighborhood. And to this day, still look out for each other, still, sort of connected. And Facebook helps with that too, but just the fact that we're able to still be connected, I think that's pretty cool.
Okay. Well, start out, introduce yourself, kind of what you do, who you are.
All right. My name is T.Rose Malone, and I am the founder and CEO of WriteYourPlan.com. And I help entrepreneurs to write an awesome business plan through a program that I'm doing online. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so we'll come back to that at the end. And like we discussed earlier, I kind of want to talk about this Great Resignation era, or whatever we're going to call it. Everything has to be labeled now.
All right, what is this? Where are we?
It's labeled. So one, as we talked about, like, why do you think, I have my opinions, but why do you think we're going through this? Like, people are just don't want to be employees anymore.
True. I mean, I have felt that way for a really, really long time. I mean, I certainly had jobs. I had corporate jobs and, worked in the big office with the big fancy title. And the whole time I was coming home at night working until my eyes just couldn't stay open any longer on a business of my own, because I knew I could not continue to work for somebody else, having somebody else calling the shots for me for the rest of my life, dictating every single aspect of my life, dictating what time I had to be there and when I could eat lunch and when I could leave and if I could take vacation. I just couldn't. I knew I'm just not cut out for that. And I know there's a lot of people who also are not, but clearly the pandemic has had a major impact on what's going on. We're in a time now with millennials who are our children,
Right,
who have a completely different mindset around
well,
work.
they don't stay on jobs anyway.
Nope.
Most of them.
Nope.
2 or 3 years. And usually I worked with this young guy who was I think he was a year younger than Morgan, which would have put him at about 25 at the time. And I told him I was amazed. He was still there after like 4 or 5 years. And I told him I was shocked.
Like, what are you doing?
He ended up leaving a little bit before I left, but I told him, I was like, I can't believe you're still here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we grew up, at a time where you had a job and that's where you lived and you died. Like,
that was the mentality, but I honestly, I just refuse to subscribe to that. I mean, most of my friends are on that plan.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can't do this for 30 years.
No.
Like, I mean, I had to do it for when the time I had to do it, but I just could not see myself. And now it's not even 65. I mean, people are working into their 70s.
Correct. Yeah, because we live longer.
Yep.
we're living life expectancy. I mean, everything shifts, through
Right.
generations. I mean, there was a time when people got married and started having children at a much younger age than we did. And even the time that we get married and have children typically has shifted again, because again, life expectancy is longer and people are doing more things and women are more in the careers and what have you. Even that has shifted now that, it's
They're starting later, a lot
later,
later.
lot later. Yep. Because there are other priorities. So lots of things shift. And I think that definitely the pandemic has helped to bring about this great resignation because people were at home. And I remember when I was working in my corporate job, I used to ask for, and I was HR, I was director of
Well, that's
HR.
what I was going to ask. What level of, like, were you in management? Were you a worker bee? Like, what level
Yeah.
of the ladder?
Yeah, I was director of HR.
Okay.
And so I was on the executive team of, a 5-member team that, made all decisions for the entire organization. And I used to constantly ask for a work at home day. And I was constantly told that that just wasn't possible. Like
Now, what year was this? Because
uh,
that was the same with me, but as we got maybe into like a few years ago, maybe within the last 10, that became like people were more open to it. But
mm,
early on,
mm.
I
Well,
think,
yeah,
yeah.
this was, I was there for 7 years until 2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yep, about 11 to 18. And
Oh, that's unusual during that
yeah,
time frame.
they were like, nope, can't be done. Can't be done. We need you here. But if somebody was sick, oh my gosh, it was awful. If somebody was sick and there was an important meeting going on that they were expected to be a part of, they would put the big phone in the middle of the conference table and they had to lay in their sick bed and talk. It, oh, anyway. So like, okay, so
It's
there's
a
possible.
shift because I remember I wanted to move to Georgia. So I put this whole plan together for my Detroit job, like telecommuting, like how much cheaper it is. You don't have the office space, like when employees aren't in there. And I had someone from my former employer, Merrill Lynch, who was pretty high up. I was like, look it over, make sure like I got everything, how it'll really save them money in the long run. I mean, I don't even think they looked at it. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I put a lot of time and effort
Right.
into it. And
He made your case.
I did. I was like, and they were gonna counter for me to stay. And I said, no, I didn't even want to hear the offer. To this day, I don't know what it was. Because I said, no, because I don't want to have to make a choice. Like I'm ready to leave Detroit. I want to go. Like, I don't want to, because if it's too good, it'd be like The Godfather. Make me an offer I can't refuse. But then when I had to come back from Georgia to Detroit, I had been there, done that. I was just like, I told them, I was like, I got to leave in a couple of months. Like, I got to be out of here. I got to go back home.
Mm.
And then they came and said, well, would you want to work from home? I was like, yeah.
So that's an option.
Well, no, it was because, and that was 2008. So I worked from home to 2008 to 2019 when I left.
Mm.
So yeah, but I didn't even like, no proposal, didn't even put it out there. I was just like, I gotta leave. And like, like we talked about the other day, working from home, especially for me, because I had never worked from home, not even like every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a whole different mindset, which is one of the things we should probably touch on, like the expectations of working from home or working from yourself. Like
Right.
you have to set boundaries.
You do.
Because in the beginning, I found myself working all times of the day and night. Like,
Absolutely.
because there's no separation. So trying to shut it down and be like, oh, I just want to get through this, or
Right.
I just want to do that. And
Right.
then you look up, like you said, it's the evening.
Yep. Yep. No doubt about it. No doubt about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, there's a lot of information out there about that too. I listen to podcasts a lot, and that is one of the major things that I hear them talking about is the fact that we have to learn how to shut it down, even just from a mindfulness standpoint and being able to relax your mind. so
Yeah.
that you can have restful sleep. I mean, I find myself sometimes feeling guilty because my body really does want the 7 to 8 hour thing, even
Oh,
9 hours
not
of
there
sleep.
yet. Like I can't even sleep that long anymore.
Oh God, my
I would
body's
love to.
well, I feel guilty for sleeping for 8 hours. Like, oh my gosh, I should be up. What's wrong with me? But not taking into account that, yeah, well, how late did you work last night? You're burning the midnight oil, and then you got to get up and work out and get going, and start it again. But you know what? I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, I figure you gotta get those wheels running. Starting a business from home is no joke. It's a lot of work, but it's so worth it. It's so
You
worth
pay
it.
the dues up front. Like
Yeah.
especially for online, I think once you get the foundation and the framework set, but it
Yeah.
takes a while to build momentum, to find your tribe.
It
All
does.
of that takes time.
It does.
But once you do, like
Yep.
I follow some people and all they have to do is come out with something and their tribe will buy it.
Yep.
Like, I mean, they do the launches and all of that, but they could probably compare to what it was when they first started. It's
Sure.
night and day. But once you get, what do they call them? Super fans. Because Pat Flynn has actually written a book. It's my next book. I can't seem to read books anymore. So all these books I bought, now I have to repurchase them on audio because I don't know. I don't want to read anymore. But since I walk, I'll just listen to it on my walk.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of the things they talk about is once, finding your tribe, your super fans, the ones that will follow you to the ends of the earth and purchase anything that you put out.
Right.
But it takes a minute to get there. That's why I was
Yeah.
like, that's why I wanted to touch on the expectations. Sorry, I meant to turn this off. Because I don't really know, like you and I, like I said, you had a brick and mortar business.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went to corporate and now you're in digital. So
Right.
how do you think, well, we touched on the corporate a little bit, like the original business that you had, which I know was a fitness.
Yeah.
And not too long ago, you had an online fitness. So like,
True.
I mean, between the two.
Serial entrepreneur, guilty as charged.
Oh, someone told me, I never knew you were so much of a hustler. I was like, am I? But I've tried so many things.
That's right.
But it took me until now, and I think that's why this is working.
Yep.
Because I've like found my groove. Like
That's
it took me a lot of detours to get here.
Absolutely. You just fail forward, right?
Right.
I mean, I have tried my hand at a lot of things. I even had a financial business at one point, and that's not my thing. That's your thing. That's not my thing.
I didn't think it was your thing when I saw it.
It wasn't. I was going with the flow. The mentor showed up, and so it's like, wow, okay. I mean, I tried my hands at a lot of different careers and businesses, MLMs and everything, just lots of them, in order to find what is really, but what's so neat is when you can really look back and say, okay, I guess I really do have some very specific skills and talent, knowledge, and, in some very specific areas. And what is it that I have done, that I can monetize, that right. I can share, and it's really about sharing. When you learn how to share your gift, that is where the rubber meets the road. And then there's learning all of the tech on the back end. The technology is awesome. Creating funnels and, building your Instagram following and creating, your Facebook page and all of that fun stuff. But like you said, it takes time. It takes time to build all that up. But the goal is to get to the place where you're working less, earning more, and serving more people.
Right.
What a perfect world.
And I do think like that's somewhat of the difference, like I said, when you had a brick and mortar fitness versus the online fitness, because in the online world, your reach to people is so much more like you can reach people in other countries. I mean, correct. You have such a further reach because even when I try like you, but I tell people all the time, I don't regret my decisions and I don't see them as mistakes because with each one of those, they led me, like even some of the things I learned early on, like now I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember this guy I used to follow who kind of talked about that. And then I'll go back. So it's like, even though it didn't work then, I think it's still part of my like blueprint now. Like I've taken those lessons with me, and some of the people that I used to follow, like I don't follow nearly as many people. Like I have cut that down to just like a few, but everybody has their own story to tell.
Yeah.
And they have something to give. And one, you have to find the people that you want to follow. Like like I said, I used to follow a lot of different people from a lot of different niches, but they all kind of play a role to where I am now.
Yeah.
So do you think like when you were, I know now you're doing the business plan, but on the fitness, did you think it was easier than when you had the shop?
Wow, it was different times.
That's true.
That's the difference too. I mean, we sold that gym in 2007. We had
Okay.
it for 5 years. So just before the economy tanked,
Yeah.
we sold it. We got out of there right on time. That was a business decision, wasn't personal. But the limitation was that people were probably not going to join my gym who lived more than a 5-mile radius, right? So people are probably not going to drive more than 5 miles to get to a gym to go work out and then, come home. It kind of has to be convenient either as it relates to work or home. So that 5-mile restriction was what I had, but that was okay because we made sure that we put it right in the middle of a very densely populated area, very high traffic shopping mall. And so it was fine. We did fine with that. And then that experience, it was like, man, I owned a business. I had employees, and it was a franchise. So I know something about franchises. I got to travel all over the world helping people to open that franchise. So now I know something about international, businesses and helping people to start businesses. So all of that led into, my experience and my story. But then moving it to an online, yes, the reach is greater, but there's not that same personal touch, right? I mean, we try really, really hard on Zoom to be personal, but it's not. And we give them, encouragement and tips, and we were able to engage. For somebody that's really into that niche, they have to really be able to distinguish how they're going to serve their clients in a very specific way. And I think that what we were doing was different because it was more focused on the nutrition side. Whereas when I had my gym, obviously it was more focused on the fitness side. Yeah. So being right there and being able to correct form and see that somebody's doing an exercise incorrectly is very different. So I think, it's just two different industries.
Yeah.
Though they were related.
So do you think that experience, because you said you end up training at the franchise level, is that what led you into the business plan? Like, is that where you kind of?
It all led into that, because then after that, I used that experience to get a job teaching at the community college. So I was in the business school teaching entrepreneurship. I taught three classes for entrepreneurship. One of them was on how to write a business plan. And that's where it really started picking up momentum for me in my mind that, I'm able to take all these experiences that I've had and roll this into something that is meaningful for people. And people started saying to me that, boy, I wish I could take your class because I really do want to start a business and I need a business plan, but it's too far. It's way, our way. I can't get there. So again, it was the time. It was before online classes were a big thing. You kind of had to be in person, right? You show up in the classroom. So then I actually, the college decided out of the blue to not schedule me to teach those classes anymore, just out of nowhere. My ratings, student profile ratings were stellar. And just all of a sudden, somebody else, same thing, where somebody else was still in control. So even though I was loving what I was doing, I was serving people, having a great time, getting results for people, I just all of a sudden wasn't on schedule anymore. So I said, you know what? I can just take this online. I can reach more because I know that there's people that can't come to this college that still want this information and this service. So that's when I created the business. That's where it came from.
And that's, I think, how a lot of people fall into their business. Because I used to subscribe to, I don't know how many entrepreneur magazines. So I've read a lot because I always think, and that's why I like to do the interviews about people's stories, because I always think there's a message in people's story. May not resonate with everybody, but it's like a few people. And for me, like people, I think it might have been Black Enterprise, I don't know, but it was some magazine like that. They would always spotlight somebody who had lost their job and thought it was the end of the world when they were laid off or lost their job. And then they took their last whatever and started something that they were passionate about. And it ended up being the best thing since sliced bread. And it doesn't happen all the time, obviously, I'm oversimplifying, but it's like when you're set there, and it's like the pandemic. So we're here and people are like, well, what other options do I have?
Right.
Because you actually kind of see, like you said, people were impacted by the pandemic through no fault of their own. Just all of a sudden, life has shifted. Same thing with being laid off, because I was laid off, luckily, only once in my career. Right before the holidays, boom, no job. And so, and like you said, it's you're in, someone else is controlling your destiny almost.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna, and at your level as a director, which is why I never wanted to go that high up on the corporate ladder, is because because I tell people with each level of income, more and more responsibility, the less control you actually have.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, I'm gonna just stay kind of down here where I can still say no if I want to say no. But when you're up at that level, your choice of saying no is I don't know how long you stay employed.
Yeah.
And that's why I was asking, like, what level, because I tell people, I have a friend, like, she's just climbing. I won't call her name because she's actually ranked in the country as one of the most, but she loves it.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, I don't want to be that accountable to anyone. Like, it's just not, like, she loves it. It's not for me. And I think people have to just figure out what playground they're on. If you want to rise the corporate ladder, that's fine. But I do still think you should set some boundaries. Like no one should control your time like that. Because you can't get it back. Like, if you're just, or if you don't disconnect, like, your quality of life to me. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, my time and quality of life are very important to me. And I feel the money will come. Like, in time, the money will come. But the other two outrank.
Well, I love being able to set my own schedule. So even though I do work a lot, but I'm on my laptop, I'm on my phone, I'm doing that kind of work, and it's all good. But you know what? If I want to get up and go for a walk, I can. If I want to stop, go to the grocery store, cook dinner, whatever time I want to do that, I can. If I don't want to start my work day until 10 a.m., I can do that, right? If I want to take Fridays off, I can do that every single Friday. If I want to go golfing or whatever it is I want to do,
you can.
I can, right? There's nobody that says to me, oh, no, you can't do that. What are you talking about? We have meetings, so, having control of the schedule. So, just getting back kind of to some of this Great Recession piece, I did look at some numbers. It was really striking. There are 4.4 million people that left their jobs in September.
And it's growing. Like, they're actually publishing that number every month now.
Yeah, because it was 4.3 in August, 4.4 in September.
But you can see it. Like, when you're out, like when I'm in the grocery store or anywhere, restaurants, hiring signs are all over.
Everywhere.
They're understaffed. Like, you can see it. Like, I couldn't quote the numbers, but I see it on the internet all the time. Like, more and more people, even those who returned or didn't lose their jobs, I think even they're having a change of mindset, that, because I think what happened is not just that people were lost their jobs through no fault of their own. People started to see how short life is. Because, during this time, it impacted, well, I do know some people who haven't been don't know anyone who's passed away, but I've had a few friends. And so I think that showed people like their own mortality. Like you're not promised this, like, what is it that you want
Really
for your
not.
life? Yeah.
Right.
So that's what I think, like when people, I'm sure it'll be some at the end of the year or next year, there'll be some report on the the Great Resignation, because like I said, they've already named it. So I'm sure it'll be something, and the reasons that they think is happening. But that's why I think it's happening, that people have seen how short life is,
Right.
and that the quality of life that they want.
Right.
Because when you're on that hamster wheel, like when you don't know what you don't know.
That's right. Yeah, that's homework, take a couple of days off, homework, couple of days off, and then maybe 2 weeks of vacation, and that's your life, right? And hope for a cost of living increase. That was the life.
Or when you live for the weekend, because I remember Morgan was little, so I don't know, 20 plus years ago, when I realized I was wishing my life away. Like I'd come in on Monday, be like, oh my God, I'd be glad when Friday gets here, because you want the weekend.
Yeah.
But that's fast forwarding 5 days, like
of your life, because it was all centered around work, around the fact that you had to report. It's not that I didn't hate my job. But yeah,
well, you paused there. I don't know.
I didn't hate my job. It was just the control, the lack of control. I knew I wasn't making enough money. I knew I wasn't making what I was worth, that they were underpaying me. And I was working my tail off, and I had a long commute. So that's twice a day that I was in my car for really long periods of time. I listened to some good books during that time. I did do that, as opposed to listen to the radio, at least, feed my mind, because I was determined for that to not be my life forever. But so, yeah, I mean, and then the pandemic also taught us, not only showed us our own mortality, and it doesn't take long to form a habit, right? So, 21 days, 30 days, 60 days, whatever the thing is, we went way beyond that in terms of a new routine.
Right.
This new routine was, being able to breathe. Like, and not everybody had the financial stability, but for those that, we're still going to be okay financially, just being able to take it easy, maybe to exercise, maybe to, spend some time with their family, or clean that closet that they couldn't get to before, all of those kind of things. But then the other thing that happened, Sherry, was this gig economy. It's another buzz phrase that's out now, the gig economy. So people found other ways to make money. They found a way to get on. There's all these websites that you can get on where you can hire a freelancer. If you don't want to do your social media, you can hire somebody to do that. You want somebody to do your copyright, you want somebody to do your marketing, you want somebody to, whatever. Or the delivery services that we have. People don't have to go to the grocery store. You can have that delivered. I mean, because a delivery driver used to work for the restaurant.
Right.
And now, they can work for any restaurant.
You can work for anyone.
So there's all of this, that whole contractor, work for hire. And for some people who really have a real talent and a skill that they can freelance, that they can sell, they can charge a high ticket and make more money, stay at home, still be able to watch their kids, not have the dry cleaning bill and the gas and the maintenance.
And all of that does save, because, when you work from home, gone are the days of stockings, but, I still, back when I was in corporate, if I wore a suit, I felt compelled to wear stockings. I rarely went, but all of that, like you said, your dry cleaning, all of that almost gives you a boost. Like when you don't have it, you've given yourself a raise, because you don't have to dry clean once a week or however. You don't have the gas for commuting, depending on how far. Because like you, I had a really long commute. I used to be in my car, like, if it snowed, it could take me like almost 2 hours to get to work. I was not a pleasant person when I arrived.
Oh my gosh.
I worked almost out by the palace. So I had to drop both of my girls in 2 different locations and then head to work. And so that was my initial exit from corporate when I first left to start my own business. Because mentally, it was just draining me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to be in a car that long in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, in the evening. And then when you get home, since I was a single parent, still had to cook and do homework.
Yeah.
So we were eating out a lot, which was not good for kids, but it just, you know, a few times a week, and the amount of money you spend eating out. So
Correct.
it just got to be one day I was like, enough. Like, you know, I got to get out of here. And so I just did the numbers. It didn't work out and I had to go back, but I got a taste of it and knew like, yeah, this time, you know, I'll have a better exit strategy. But
that's an exit plan. That's a
yeah,
part of
it was a little, it wasn't spontaneous, but I probably didn't put as much research as I should have, because it just, I'm a person like, if I can see it, I'll step. And I was like, I can do this. But there were a lot of things that I didn't anticipate that happened, which is one of the things, like I was telling a friend of mine, like, since we're during this time, I think what happened, you were talking about the gig workers, is a lot of people who had those skill sets like copywriting and social media, they turned those into businesses.
No doubt about it.
Especially with platforms like Fiverr and everything. It's like what they took for granted doesn't come easy to someone like me. Like, I am not good at copywriting. I'm not really, it's not that I'm not good at social media. I just can't seem to stay consistent with it.
Yeah.
So when you ask some people, like, they like it, they're on their phones and stuff all the time, and those turned into businesses for people.
Correct.
And it just comes natural, like the writing your plan came natural to you.
Yeah.
Finances kind of come easy to me. Like, even though, like, I think we talked about it, I have a degree in accounting, that's not really managing your money. But that just always came natural to me. And so that's why I was like, okay, but at first I didn't want to do it for a living. I was like, I don't really want to do that, you know. So
what else is out there?
Right, let me try all these other things, only to come full circle. But now I like it, because just talking about it and showing people, like, you really only have to make a few small changes or set a few habits to get your finances on track. I think people make it overly complicated. I don't know that it really is, but it really depends on the person, because it does come easier to me. Just like writing a business plan comes easy to you, probably wouldn't come so easy to me. I could do it.
I've been editing my whole life.
Right.
I have. I mean, it's so funny. I actually have a story about my editing. I want to tell you this because it's funny, because you knew my mother. So I remember, you remember Jet Magazine? I used to love when Jet Magazine came in the mail. Oh, I shouldn't have named it. Darn.
Well, not everyone will know, because I don't even know if it's still around.
Oh,
I don't know if it's still around.
Funny. But honestly, there used to be a lot of errors. Like, I don't know who the editor was when I was 12 years old, but there were a lot of errors, grammatical errors, sentence errors, editing errors, punctuation. There were a lot of errors, but I loved the magazine, just because, you know, all the information that was in there that you didn't get you didn't get that news anywhere else. And so I used to, but to me, it was fun. It was like a game. Wow, I get to edit the magazine. Yay! Okay. And I would read it cover to cover, and I would go through and I would edit it. And one time I showed it to my mother, and I said, wow, look what I did. And she said, you did this? And I just often wonder, what would have happened if she would have sent that magazine back to the publisher and said, look what my 12-year-old did, you know?
I'm not gonna lie, I probably would have.
I know, I think I would have too, but you know, she was just like, wow, you know, it's really working, because she's the one that really infused the power of the English language and did not allow us to, you know, speak anything but, you know,
no ain'ts.
It was not allowed in our house. So to me, it was fun. So anyway, so that became something that now I cannot shut off, and I constantly edit. everything that I see all the time, everywhere. I can't stop it. But I've turned that and coupled that with my experiences and just created a business that comes easily and naturally and fun for me.
And I think that's how it should be, because I'm the same way, because I think originally I wanted to do something around entrepreneurship, not really finance. Because if I go somewhere, the first thing my mind goes to is the numbers. I'm like, oh my God, they're charging $11 for that, and they probably paid $2. And like, I just start going through
Nice.
all the time.
Nice.
And so I'm like, I don't like grammar. I mean, I'm not that bad at it. I can put a comma, and semicolon in the correct places, but I don't like it. I don't like to write, which is why I chose video. Because here I can just talk. But you know, when I had my blog, it was one of the things that was holding me back.
Oh yeah.
It would take me forever to structure the blog post that was probably SEO friendly, and it was just,
yeah.
And so because it took so long, I avoided doing it.
Right.
I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'll do that later.
Mm-hmm.
And so it never really got off the ground.
There you go.
It's just because, so I think like most of my channel is digital products, probably more planners and printables and things like that. But most of the viewers are digital. And those are things that are easy to get started.
Yeah.
But like we said, you still need a plan. But like you are with writing and correcting, I'm like that with businesses. Like I'll see something, which is why I follow a lot of people. Like I used to follow Warren Buffett, the guy who started Whole Foods, like people like that, because I like to reverse engineer their story.
Okay.
Because I tell people, I'm like, well, you see them after they've made it.
Yes.
Like, I want to see, like, how did they get there? Because they stumbled and failed along the way. You just, that's not really highlighted in their story.
But it should be.
It should be.
To encourage other people, because, you know, I mean, I remember telling somebody not that long ago, like, I am going to be, and everybody's going to think that I'm an overnight sensation, right? An overnight success. Like, wow, just all of a sudden, bam, she just made it. I'm like, yeah, over 20 years of overnight success. And I think that that's the case, right? With probably most people.
But if they're not transparent with their story, and I don't know that those people weren't, it's just that we were in a different era. Now, like online influencers, if you follow anybody, you'll see they tell their same story all the time. Like, you know, they have the one story that they're going to tell, how they got from here to there. But it is a lot of hiccups. And I think if you're transparent, it's not that you don't want to be an entrepreneur or you should shy away from it if that's what's on your heart. Like you said the other day, you know, you weren't focusing so much on the other business because Write Your Plan was what's on your heart. And that's kind of why I am with my YouTube channel. That's why I pivoted, because showing people the tips and tricks that I've learned, because I'm pretty much self-taught in the digital space. So I'm like, oh, look at what I found out. Here you go. Like, you know, because that saves somebody that step.
Yes.
Like, and that's why I'll pay for a course, because I really don't want to spend my time Googling and watching a lot of YouTube videos. If I think the course is worth it, I'll just pay you for it and you can condense it down into a couple of hours for me. So I think, like, it's not to tell people like, oh, you shouldn't do this. Like, you know, work and get your watch and then retire. If that's what you want, I think you should. But it isn't for everyone.
Right.
But being an entrepreneur, I don't think should be oversimplified either.
Correct.
Because that's a journey. And a lot of times, like we said, you don't see the missteps that people have had before they reached, you know, influencer status, where you're following them and they're this sensation. But that they didn't, most people didn't get there overnight. There are some overnight sensations, but most people did not.
That's rare.
It's rare. And it does, like I tell people all the time, everybody can't be Oprah. Like if being Oprah was so easy, like what would the world be like if everyone could be Oprah?
Right.
I mean, you know, like some people just have that it factor. And you have to find your it factor,
right,
and where you can have the most impact. And when you find that, I think you will. And especially if you're just true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you don't, we won't call any names right now, but someone who's just recently came out with a book and has said that like all this time he's been pretending to be someone else. And I find that I'm like, wow, like how can you live that long not being you?
Wow. Yes,
You know
that's
what I'm
right.
saying? Like, just if you're true to yourself, that will resonate with the people you're trying to resonate with, I think. Because
The
anybody
silver
else you're
lining.
attracting, you're not really attracting your tribe because you're
Mhm.
not you. So we'll segue that. That's a big segue. But
Yeah, I
I
mean,
had to get off my soapbox because I don't, like I tell people, the one thing I think you should be in life is true to yourself. Like the rest will fall into place.
yeah.
Because if you
Yeah.
can, it's like why do you have to be someone else to like attract people into your life? Like that just to me makes no sense. But my friend calls that the Sherry filter. So that's the Sherry filter.
Well, you know, this journey of life, we just keep learning, keep growing, keep getting stronger. You know, what else can we do? That's what we have
That's
to
what I'm
do.
saying. But on that journey, like it has to be your journey. It can't be like
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to live your journey based on other people's expectations. I
Right.
just think you'll get to the same place this person has gotten to, and he doesn't appear to be that happy with all of his success and everything. Like, you know, I've watched a few interviews. I'm like, he doesn't appear to be that happy with all that he's, you know, achieved in his life.
Mm.
So, but we'll talk about that. So, I mean, enough with that. So we'll go into the business plan and maybe why you need it. And without giving away your 12 steps, you know, the things that people can really do, even in the digital space.
Right.
Because are you targeting both markets, digital and?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it could be any type of business. You know, you're talking about being true to yourself and the time, if we could find the silver linings from a global pandemic that, you know, maybe one of them is that people are able to rediscover themselves and spend more time, you know, really figuring out, well, who am I really? And what do I really want? And what can I do? How can I make money? How can I support myself?
What
How can I
lights you
be more
up? Yeah.
fulfilled? Yeah, how can I be fulfilled? And what service can I provide? Who can I really help? You know, because we all have to help one another, and you're so good at that. So, you know, we all have to really just help one another and using your talent. So, yes, having a business plan for those, you know, like you say, there are some people for whom climbing the corporate ladder or having, you know, the security of a steady income of their job and they enjoy it. And you know, I'm not knocking it. I am not knocking it at all. And clearly entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. But for those for whom that is their desire, having a business plan is going to enhance their success. So of these 4.4, it's so interesting that I saw one statistic that said that there were 4.4 million people who quit their jobs in just a single month. But I also saw that exact same number, that there were 4.4 million businesses started in 2020. And so, but we all know
they were popping up everywhere.
Statistics around the number of businesses that fail. Yes. Right. So if there's, you know, it's really high. It's like over a 5-year period, it's like 70%. So it's really high. That fail.
Oh yeah, because most businesses aren't profitable statistically, I think, in the first 3 or 5 years or something.
Yep, 3 to 5. 3 to 5, yeah. Right? So there's lots of factors to consider with all of that, you know, and for most people, you're not going to just leave your job and just jump out the nest, right? But having a business plan does provide some direction And so that's what we focus on. And I like to focus on 5 major things that a business plan can do for you. So one of them is that it can prepare you for investors and lenders. So if what you are doing is going to be something where you're going to be looking for angel investors, or maybe there's a city grant or a state grant that you have to qualify for and they require a business plan, or if you're going to go to a banker or a lender, somebody like that, you're not self-funding, then you need a business plan. That's a formal professional business plan, which people can prepare that we can help people with. But then some people just want an informal plan because they're self-funding. You're like, it's not, my overhead is really low. All I need is Wi-Fi and my phone, and my laptop, and I'm good to go, So
right.
It's really low overhead. Then, maybe a more informal business plan still is going to help to provide you with that direction. The second thing that it will do is will assess your potential. So again, for all of those businesses that fail, a lot of times it could be because they believed in their idea, like, man, I got this great idea and I know it's going to work because it's my idea and I'm going to do it. And so the world is going to love me. I'm going to build it and they will come. And so what a business plan forces you to do is to honestly assess your potential, or the potential, not necessarily you,
validate it,
potential of the business, right, to succeed. And so there's some deep work that you have to do in order to figure that out. So the business plan forces you to do that work and to get real, get honest with yourself. And I love, when we're doing the SWOT analysis, for example, now that I have
everybody may not know what SWOT is.
A SWOT is an analysis that you do that SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so you're looking at both internal and external factors that will impact your ability to be successful. So there are some things that are going to be internal that are strengths of yours, and there are things that are external that you have no control over. So the pandemic now is this major example that I can point to for people to say, it used to be this sort of pie in the sky thing, like, something could happen in the global economy that will impact your business. What would you do? Right. So we kind of had to make up this fantasy thing.
Yeah,
we have a real one. We have a real example. And there were some businesses that thrived in the pandemic, and there were others that suffered, right? So
some haven't come back and some won't.
Correct. And then there were some that were able to shift. They were able to, pivot, really quickly pivot. So a restaurant that maybe quickly pivoted to, I don't know, delivery or some kind of model where it didn't have to be a sit down model, then maybe they were able to do those things. So
I think the ones that probably struggled initially, who hadn't taken advantage of the online space. Like some of them already have websites, they just had to start like encouraging people to go. And then there were others who weren't set up for that. So they were kind of behind, a couple of steps behind. But so I agree.
That's what it does. So the business plan is going to help you to honestly assess what's going on out here in this world. What is your competition doing? And where are you maybe falling short? And how could that impact you?
Now, before you go on the 3, because I think because like the formal business plan and informal, they are different markets, but like point 2, I think, is either. Because even on the online space, like last year, there were people who came online really quickly with online courses, with products.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you still, they made it to the market really fast. But the thing is, you still have to validate it, or it'll be short term. Like if you just put it up because it's succeeded in that time frame under those circumstances, it may not be sustainable. So I think your point 2 is valid, like in either space, because like I said, most of my target audience is digital products. But even if you're just selling printables, or if you're selling lead magnets, whatever you're selling, you still need to research your competition. Like you said, you need to validate the idea. You need to figure out, like, will it be sustainable? You always have to add to it and everything. But if you're just creating like, what do you call it? Like the one-hit wonders, then you then you'll find yourself like, once we're out of this soon, hopefully, that it may not be sustainable. So that's the only thing, because I thought point two was really good and applies to whether you're an informal or formal business plan.
No doubt. No doubt. So then number 3 of the top 5 reasons.
Maybe that's what I'll name this. Let me top 5. Go ahead. I may name it top 5
reasons why you need a business plan. Well, really a business plan has been proven to actually double your odds of success. And again, because of this deep dive that you do, and really taking ownership as the entrepreneur, as the business owner. This is my baby. This is my thing. I need to fully understand this from top to bottom. And I also have to look at, what is my product or service and how am I offering that? Am I filling a need that's in the market, or do I just have an idea and I'm going to try to force people to like my idea? So there's a big difference, right? So being able to identify a need of something that is missing, and then you have the solution to fill that need. That is the model that you want, as opposed to, I got a great idea, so you guys should just buy it. So you got to do your market research. You got to really figure out, what is it that people want. And then for number 4, what I like about this is examining the entire concept. What I like about examining everything is, again, people have an idea. Usually it's a product or a service, something that they know how to do, something that they do well. People complimented me on, making my cakes for a long time. And so I ended up opening a bakery kind of thing. So, but if you only focus on the fact that you are a great baker and you make the best cakes in town, and you disregard all of the other pieces that it takes to run a business, that is a recipe for disaster, right? So again, it's an all-encompassing thing. You do have to look at your market. You have to, know what your marketing plan is going to be, know what the competition is doing, know what your competitive advantage is going to be. Who are your suppliers? Who are your partners? And the financial statements. We need somebody to help us with the financial statements and our projections, and how realistic are they?
The pricing. Because what I find with people, was a true story about the cakes? Did you actually do that?
No, no, that wasn't me. but I work with people that want to start restaurants, and I'm like, okay, so how much is it going to cost you for salt and pepper shakers?
Well, that's the thing I was going to say, because, sometimes coming from the neighborhood we're in, that we grew up in, a lot of people have side hustles where they're selling the dinners, or they're really good at baking like cakes. And I knew someone, I never try to call people by name. So I knew someone who did that. And when they, like I said, my mind goes to the numbers almost like instantly. Mm-hmm. And so when they told me how much they were charging and they were delivering them, I was like, not only do I not think you're making any money, I think you might be losing money.
Yes.
Because I was like, you have to figure out, okay, you sold that one meal. Mm-hmm. And even though you made 5, like, how much is it costing you to make the meals, your delivery? And I was pretty sure they were upside down, but they just saw that I'm gonna make these numbers up now.
Oh yeah, I made $10 on that. I made $10. I made $10. Right. I sold a dinner for $10.
That made 10. I had to tell Morgan that, like, when we first went into this, she was doing, I don't know, one of those delivery services. And she would come home and tell me, all these numbers are fabricated. I made $50 today, because I don't remember. She was like, I made $50 today. And I was like, did you? And so she was like, yeah. I said, well, you had gas.
Yep.
You had your time. You had the wear and tear on your car. Mm-hmm. I don't really think you made $50. So, so I just wanted to point that out. Like, you actually have to figure out, if you're doing something physical, your cost of goods sold, for one.
No doubt.
And even if you're doing a service, like I was talking to our other neighbor, I told her, you're not factoring in your time. Like, it took me 2 or 3 conversations, and she's going to watch this, so she knows what I'm talking about. It took us multiple conversations for her to start realizing she wasn't factoring in her time. Like when she
Ah,
was pricing her services, because she has a service-based business,
uh-huh.
that she wasn't factoring in her time. And she would tell me, well, I can't charge for that. I'm like, sure you can. Like it's part of the process. So
Absolutely.
that is big. Like people, I think when you're validating the idea, like you
Mhm.
said, you have to do your market research. And is it actually a profitable idea? I mean, you may not make money right away, but long term, is it something that can actually be profitable?
So
Yeah.
what you want to do a lot of times, especially, little guys, right? People that are just small
Right.
businesses, just individual, sharing their skill. You kind of have to look at what the big guys are doing. So even though you're not on that scale or that level, you can still learn from them. So one of the examples that I used to always share with people about restaurants is look at a model like McDonald's, because if you notice, do they give you a napkin anymore? Like maybe you get one, maybe. You're not going to get salt, ketchup. You're not going to get all of that extra stuff. I mean, they have to account for how much was the bag that they put your food in and the wrapper and
It's
every
all a
piece
part
of
of
it,
their
right?
cost.
It's all part of their cost. And if you notice that there came a time where they stopped providing all of that extra stuff, and if you wanted some extra sauce or something, you had to pay 25 cents.
You
And
have
then
to
I
pay
went to
them.
this restaurant. It was a new place, in town, a little startup. And so I'm going to go and support local. And I go into that restaurant, and without me asking for anything, they like gave me this big handful of like salt and ketchup and sauces. And I was like, what? And I immediately saw they weren't going to make it, because they are not factoring in how much all of that stuff costs. And I didn't ask for it. So why? So how many people are just going to take that home and throw it away?
You do,
Like,
or like me, you set it on the counter and you never use it.
yeah, you think
I come home with extra. But the thing, like I always tell people, I find 3 people. Like even when I was starting my printables, I found like 3 shops, and I would follow them. I was tracking their sales. I was tracking their keywords. Like I was tracking things. Like I tell people, it's just the way my brain is. I always
that's
reverse
market research.
engineer.
You got to do it.
Yeah, like I always reverse engineer, and I'm like, okay, like they started here, they're here, like what have they done? Like that's just, and I think don't try to like research everybody, but just pick like a couple of people who are close enough to what you want. That's what I tell my daughter, like find someone who has what you want and figure out how they got from there to there. Because if they're online nowadays, it's a lot easier to do that than it would have been years ago. You can't find out everything, obviously, but you can probably look at things they've done, like especially if they're on YouTube, anything like that. Like you can see their journey and how they went through and they transition. And sometimes they're not even selling the same thing that they started out. Like they figured along the way, like maybe they weren't passionate about that, or it wasn't profitable. They really wanted to do it, but they couldn't make a business out of it. So, like us, like we tried multiple things. It's like, and it's a lot more work when you don't, like when you're not passionate about it. It's almost, you just traded your corporate job for another job. Like if you're not enjoying it, you just traded one for the other.
Right.
Yeah, you're in control of your time, but you're still not really enjoying what you're doing. And I tell people, for me right now, I'm like you. It's a lot of hours of my day go into building my business. I mean, sometimes probably 10 plus. So that's a long time to put into something that you're not enjoying.
Yeah, if you're not
at my age.
Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that. But yeah. So didn't mean to get you off track, but yeah, I mean, it's just things that if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, because it can work and it does provide more flexibility, but in the beginning, it does, in most cases, not all cases, it takes a little bit of time and effort to get it started. And you got to be consistent. Like I saw this video the other day, maybe I'll add it. It was a journey, like how we start out all excited, oh well, and then we get down here and we're like, oh, it's not working. And that's where most people fall off. But
Right.
to get back on the trajectory, you got to stick with it. If I can find that, I would like include it, because it was interesting. I was like, yeah, I was on that journey a few times.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Like I
Yeah,
said,
when
we
it
fail
starts,
our way forward.
yeah, like now I think you and I both have found like this is what we want. So you push through, like when you hit the valley, you push through so that you can start back,
Yeah.
moving back up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and there's just so many little niches, that people can fulfill. You shared a video with somebody that her niche is to teach people how to be profitable on Etsy. Like that is so narrow, and that's awesome. That's exactly what the world needs. I mean, there's just no limit to the number of opportunities that exist. And people, just have to realize what their gift is and what they're passionate about, because it can happen. And I've also read a lot of motivating books over the years, and the John Maxwell's and all those kind of things that just kind of keep you encouraged. So
Well, I've read a lot of those too. Like I read a lot of business books because, like I said, I like to read about people's journeys. But the other ones is mindset, because you have to have a mindset to like stick with it.
Yep.
Because like you said, it's not for the faint of heart. So you have to get, when going into it, you have to realize you may reach like a season where you're struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that's going to get you through that is your mindset.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have to make the choice, like I'm in this season, I'm not here permanently.
Correct.
And to keep moving.
It's a season.
Right.
It's a season that you're just passing through.
All
and all part of the journey.
All part of the journey. And like I tell people, like one of my phrases is like, life isn't a straight line. You got to bend with the curves. Like you got to learn to bend with them. Like, huh?
That's good. I like
that. Oh
yeah,
I should probably I put it on some things, like it's a tagline on some things, because people think like they set the goal and they're just going to head straight. But sometimes it's the detour that gets you where you're supposed to go.
That's right.
It's not pleasant a lot of times.
That's right. That's right.
It's usually not pleasant, but if you just like reflect on it and take the lesson from it, it'll probably put you in a much better position than you were headed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the magic of it too, and just having the fortitude to be able to do that mindset work, like you say. Oh my gosh, yes, that is so amazing, so amazingly powerful. Just to really be able to realize the control that you have. You get to control your thoughts, right? You don't have to allow whatever thought, especially the negative ones, you don't have to just allow them to permeate. You get to control that. You get to decide, and everything is energy, right? So just realizing that too, that everything that you put out there is energy, and everything that you receive and everything that you allow, and just really being able, to settle down, calm your mind, realize you've got this, it's going to be all right, and get a coach,
Well, and the other thing
to help you.
But the other thing before we go on to number 5 is like the thing about the mindset and that thing is, people, you should still allow yourself, like when you're in a negative space, like if you're feeling that, I think you should allow yourself to feel it. Like it's unrealistic to think that we're always going to be up here.
Oh, you're not.
But the thing is like, because sometimes I know people like they just stay there too long. Like, okay, you're here, don't set up permanent residence. But just you should allow yourself to feel the feelings and maybe figure out where they're coming from, and then like work through it. But if you try to just ignore it or pass over it, I don't really think that's healthy. Like you're not dealing with it. So sooner or later you'll surface back. Because I've been in it lately. We'll talk about that offline. But like it has like the last probably, what are we in November now? Maybe 6 months, because things have just not been on my time frame. Like I'm like, oh my God, am I still here? And so I had to, like calm myself down. Like, things happen when they're supposed to happen. Like, you got to just like make it through this. But I was like, I was going, I call it going into the weeds. Like, I was going into the weeds, and I had to like bring myself out. And it was because it was happening too frequently. I was getting frustrated at the speed at which things were happening. And it was not happening fast enough, in my opinion. Sure. So I'm like, okay, stop it. But I did have to allow myself to go through it. And then just, you know, because I'm like, okay, deal with it and just move on. Like, yeah.
Yeah, you got to recognize it. You learn to identify it. I think that's what happens, you know,
right.
What you're talking about in terms of not ignoring the things that are going on within you, but learning to recognize it. I was like, I see you.
Right. And recognize it and address it, because I am pretty good at that, because I was like, when this first started happening last year, I was off balance. And I kept telling people, I'm like, I'm out of sync. Like, because, you know, all of this stuff happened, and I was like, yeah, I'm not like, and it took me about a month or so to like get back on track. You know, the staying indoors, like all that came with it initially, it had me off balance. And a friend of mine, he was like, most people don't recognize that. I was like, I try to stay in tune with myself. I'm not perfect, but it's like, when I'm off, I'm like, I'm off. Like, what's going on? Like, I'm out of sync. You know, and, yeah. But that took a while. I didn't come out the womb like that. That took some work. But number 5.
Number 5 is accountability. So a business plan will hold you accountable. And when you are working through that process, you realize what it's going to take to really be successful in your business. If you're working with a partner, a coach, a team, and you have requirements that you have to do to get the project done, it really holds you accountable. And it also helps you to identify what are the tasks, the daily tasks that you are doing that are going to help you to be successful. So again, that accountability is a major factor, and we all need to be held accountable, whether we want to lose weight or we want to, post regularly, or, whatever the task is that is going to get us to reach our ideal client is going to require some accountability. So that's the 5th thing that a business plan would do for you.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up. So tell everybody where they can find you, and if they want to sign up for your plan.
Okay, great. You can find me at WriteYourPlan on Instagram and Facebook. And the business website is writeyourplan.com.
Okay, well, it was good having you. Stay on. I'm going to stop the recording.
All right.
So we continued our conversation offline, but I hope you found value in the conversation, as well as the 5 tips that T.Rose provided. So 5 tips that can help, how a business plan can help enhance the success of your business. You need some type of roadmap, whether you're operating a traditional business, a brick and mortar, or a digital product space. Because although the information that will be included in the plan may differ, you still need a blueprint, a roadmap. You need to figure out who your target audience is. Who are you going to serve? What are your numbers? What are your costs? Because even in a digital space, although the costs are not as high, there are costs associated with running a business. So all of this goes into creating a plan. If you want to learn more, be sure to check out the information in the description box of how you can stay in contact with T.Rose. Don't forget, if you haven't, give the video a thumbs up if you got value. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified the next time I post a video. As always, have a good weekend and enjoy your day. I'll see you in the next video. Next week is the holiday weekend, so right now I'm on the fence if I'm going to enjoy the long weekend or upload a video. If not, have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time with family and friends.